we're in Fusion. We can see that we have the circular cutout that we're going to be making. We have a form factor of a domino as we described earlier. And we also have this defining line in the center. We're choosing to do a 0 and a 1 because that will be the easiest to accomplish within the, I would say, slightly limited time frame that we have right now. So there it is. We're going to keep that up there for reference for later, so we can look back and see and check where we're going. And right now, I'm going to then have you guys start a new project with me. So right now, we're going to go and click, if you have it open, click up here to where it says File. There's going to be a drop-down menu, and you're going to choose New Design. When that happens, you will have now a blank screen. There's a few things that I just want to point out just really quickly before we actually start drawing. And that's just one thing, is that you're going to want to be able to go down here and turn on your origin. It's important that you can see. So over in this side menu, and I'll describe, I know there's a lot of tools, there's a lot of buttons happening. Just follow along and I will show you those a little bit later, but I just want to draw something first. I want to get us to have an object on the screen. So you're going to want to select your origin, and you're going to then want to go up here to this, there's a green plus in the corner that says Create Sketch. If you don't see that there, you might be running into the problem that you're not in the Design tab. You might be in one of these other tabs. So just make sure that up in this corner, you're in the Design tab, and then you can click on Create a New Sketch. So for that, right now, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to be able to select a plane. So right now, you've seen, if you turned your origin on, you have these different planes. These represent the X, Y, and Z axes. It particularly matter which axes you draw it on, but I'm going to draw my domino standing up. So it's going to be on the X and the Z axis. So I'm going to choose this plane right here, and it's automatically going to turn me into this two-dimensional view. And anything that you draw in 3 dimensions will typically start as a 2-dimensional object, or especially in Fusion 360, that is typically the route that we're taking. So in order to get a 3-dimensional rectangle for our domino, we're going to start by drawing a 2-dimensional rectangle. And so here's how we get it going. Up in the top here, there is a line, and then there is this 2-point rectangle. You're going to see a rectangle with 2 blue dots. You're going to want to click on that. And again, if anyone's lagging behind or they need help, they need me to go slower, faster, any of that, please do let me know in the chat. Unmute yourself and let me know. We're happy to help. So we've got our rectangle selected. You're going to see that now when I move my cursor around on my mouse, it actually shows that exact same icon just underneath the mouse. And there's this little point. So I'm going to choose to start on my origin point, which is the 0, 0, 0 of every of those axes. And I'm going to click. I'm going to pull out. And right now, it doesn't matter. I can just loosely draw any shape of rectangle, and I'm going to click again, and that's going to stop, and it's going to create me a shape. So we have our shape, but you know, it doesn't quite meet the domino sort of sizing form factor that we discussed earlier. So that's okay. We're not stuck. We don't have to delete it. We can we basically edit the features. So up in the top, there is again going to be this line with a blue line between them, and that's going to allow you to make dimensions for your object. So click on that, and then come back down to your sketch and choose the side line here and pull out. And once you've pulled out, you can click again to lock it into place. Now I can decide what that height is just by typing into this box. We are working in millimeters, so there's that mm for millimeters right now. And arbitrarily, I'm sort of assuming that a domino is about 50 millimeters high. And so we're going to click 50, and now we have the height that we're looking for. That's perfect. I'm still in my dimension tool, and I'm going to click on the other side, this shorter side of my rectangle. And you can do the top or the bottom, that's up to you. And I'm going to bring that down as well. I actually want it to be 25, so I'm going to leave it at 25. If you dragged and dropped and stopped anywhere else, then you can just edit that. So you can put 25 in here and hit enter. At any point in time, if you say I went into here just as and I accidentally hit 56, and I don't actually want to re-click on it and go back, you can go to your keyboard and hit Control-Z or Command-Z on a Mac, and that'll actually just bring it back. Sorry, you have to be on the object. I'll just bring it back. So now I brought it back to 50. That goes for almost anything in here. As long as you hit Control-Z, you're going to go back. One of the greatest parts about working digitally is that there's this magical thing called undo. You can try, you can make mistakes, and then you can get right back to there. If I wanted to go and say the opposite, I'd undid something I didn't want to, you can hit Control Y and it'll take you back there again. So these magical buttons that let us try things without too much risk are fantastic and good to go. So we have a 2-dimensional rectangle. This is fantastic. I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited to have a 2-dimensional rectangle. But at the current, what I know is that we want to do 3D. We are about to be 3D designers. You just have to do one little step with me. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do now is to go finish sketch. There's this little green circle with a check mark in it. We're going to finish our sketch. And as soon as you finish that sketch, I'm actually going to want to just, you can then go up here to your extrude, or you can click on that body and right click. So there's, again, you can go up here to extrude, or you can right click on the actual sketch, and you're going to see a little thing called press and pull. So now when I have that going on, I can either pull on this and pull it out and pull it back, or I can type directly into this and get a precise measurement depending on what I want to do. For me, I really liked that it just snapped at 5 millimeters, and I'm happy with that as the form factor. And so we're going to just hit enter, and there we go. You are all magicians. You have all drawn something in 3 dimensions. If anyone's having any trouble with that, again, I'm open to having any questions. But right now that we have something to look at, I'm going to walk you through a little bit of the actual layout of the software itself. So you guys saw there were a lot of buttons, and there still are, and you're probably maybe daunted by some of them, but that's okay. There's a couple crucial ones, and we're going to go over those. So a lot of what you're going to be doing, you'll notice that this bar has been changing as we went along. So when we made a document, we had this document settings. I said we were working in millimeters. If you wanted to change that, you could click over here and you could edit it right in the menu itself, right here on the left-hand side. You can create specific views for yourself, but you probably don't need to do that right now. I'll show you how to navigate after. You have your origin that we already worked through, but these ones got added when we drew something. And so what that is actually the body. So if I select that, it's going to select my 3D object, which is referred to as a body in the software. If I wanted to deselect it or change the name, so say I wanted to call it Domino body, I could click on there. That's good when you're making things very complicated and you want to be able to click on things quickly. You can name them, so you can just select them over here. The other part is that we made a sketch, and we can see that sketch over here. Well, we could if we clicked on this little eye. So something important is, say for example, your body just disappeared and you're going, oh no, I drew something. Where did it go? What's happening? Why isn't it there anymore? You may have run into this issue, which is that it is just not visible at the moment. So it currently exists, but it is invisible. So you're gonna wanna, if you are running into that issue, you just click on the little icon, for lack of a better pun, and you're gonna end up with being able to see your body again. And then the same thing, yep.
Could you go over how to get back into 3D from the 2D sketch?
Sorry, so if you're on your...
So we have George who's still in 2D and can't seem to go back to 3D.
Right. So if we're gonna be in our sketch over here, there's going to, George, for you, you're gonna see a green circle with a white check mark up about over here. So I can go into it over here. Actually, I'll show you directly. So if everyone else doesn't have to do this, I'm just showing it for George. So we were in our sketch right here. Right up at the top here, there's a little thing called Finish Sketch. Click on that button and you should be out. George, can you let us know in the chat if that worked for you or if that's working? Hopefully it did. If not, we can share your screen and maybe some others are going to be having that issue, so we can help you through it. Any words, Stephen?
I'm watching the chat. He hasn't said anything yet.
Okay, well, let us know, George, if you're not, if you do need to. Oh, I see something appearing here.
So from Wilford says, if you're at the extrude step, you had to take the orbit tool to go back and see it in 3D because extrude is only looking down.
Okay. So if you're okay, George, we're going to move on. But otherwise, please let us know and we can jump in. You can actually share your screen just like I am, and we can tackle the problem together. So let us know if you need us to do that. So here we are, we have now a 3D object. We want to look around it. Maybe I don't want to just view it from this perspective, or I want to look up closer or further. If you're on a mouse, you can use your scroll wheel and you can directly zoom in or zoom out, which is really handy. But you can also, if you're not, you can also go down here to this navigation menu, and you can orbit something. So an orbit is going to look like this. You can move it around in any way you would like to. I would like to point out that there's this handy little cube up at the top over here. And you're going to notice that as I move this object, the cube moves as well. And one of the best parts about that is that if I get lost and I'm like, oh no, this is not good, I don't want to see it from here, and you're struggling to try to reposition because it can get really annoying in that way to get your thing back to where you want, you can actually click home and it'll bring you back to a perspective view zoomed in of your object. Or if you want to look at it from any particular angle, there are a multitude of ways you can click on this cube to be able to get there. So you can go front and it'll give you a nice view of the side. If you want to rotate and look at it a little bit differently, you can click on these arrows up at the top. If you would like to go and look at the back, for example, or the top, you can click around the cube by using the little arrows on top. And now we're upside down. We want to rotate it back the other way. And then all that being said, you can just grab the cube and move it however you would like to as well. There's another little nice feature, which is that you can lock onto corners. So say in 3 dimensions, sometimes you want to see this perspective view. So you can actually click on the vertices of the cube as well to give you different perspectives. For now, though, we're going to want to look at the front of it, and we're going to maybe want to be zoomed in. There is one thing to think about. Say I'm in here and I'm lost in my object, and I want to fit it back to my screen the way it fit really nicely. Down here in the navigational bar, again, you can hit fit. So it's a little magnifying glass with an object in it, a little cube. If I click on that, it automatically brings me back to not being too zoomed in or too far away. So that's really, really handy if you're getting lost. There's 2 ways to get sort of unlost, which is this home button and then this fit to screen over here. The last thing I'm going to show you guys is that there's a pan. So if you wanted to move it left and right and not change the actual viewing angle, you can do that as well. There are hotkeys for all of these things, but I'm going to stick to the basics right now and not go into the hotkeys. Anytime you want to find a hotkey, it's usually next to the item in the menu, or you can look it up. There are great references online for just finding hotkeys, for example. And then if you are, say, in the hand, I forgot how to exit everything. I forgot to mention that. I'm sorry, guys. So say you're in the panning tool or you're in the orbit tool, but you don't want to be and you don't want to affect anything, you can hit the escape button and that will bring you back to your selection pointer tool. All right. So we have this, we've gone through some of the menu. I will get into the top bar as we go along, but this is where you modify and create new bodies and make adjustments. We're going to be doing a lot of work in there as we go along. So here we go. So I'm going to, and I think I will invite you guys to as well, have a straight on view of the front of our domino that we have here. I'm going to start a new sketch because we're going to modify / create a new sketch on top of this 3D object. So when I click new sketch, then I click on the actual object itself. Now I have the same rectangular circles, lines, all of that object of drawing in 2 dimensions on top of the rectangle. For us, we're going to be drawing a line now. And there's this really handy feature that you might notice as I'm drawing along this line. It tells me exactly where the center of the line is. So even over up here, and we're going to want to draw from the center to the center of this object, actually. Forgive me, I have zoom in the way. So I'm just going to move it a little bit. So I want to start clicking. So I've selected the line tool up here. I'm going to click on when I see that little triangle, and you guys are going to do that too. I'm going to click there and drag across until we get to the other side. And it's going to tell you that we've made 0 degrees of rotation. If you have anything in there, you don't want it to be there. And you're going to see that triangle again, and it'll lock on. It should be locking on for you. And you can click right there, and now you've drawn a line. Importantly, this line is a solid line, so it is part of the object. But for this purpose, that line is only going to act as a reference for us. There's a way that we can turn that line from solid line into a reference line for our drawings. And this is really handy when you want to measure something off something else, but not have it be a part of your actual object. So I'm going to hit escape from my line tool so that I'm not in it anymore. And I'm going to look over here on the right-hand side. A lot of things that are happening in the software, when you click on things, you're going to notice that different menus and different options show up on the right-hand side for you. Right now, you should be seeing line type. And what I want this to be is actually a construction line. So I want to click on my line, and I want you guys to do that too if you're following along, and then click on construction. You're going to know it worked when you see that the line has now become a dashed line. So then we have this line that is a measurement for us. It's telling us and denoting where the center is, and it allows us to do things from there. If you look back at this domino, we actually are wanting to create this feature right here. So this line right here actually has a thickness, and it's equidistant from the center. So how do we make this equidistant line in the center? Well, I'm going to show you guys. So we click on this line, select it. It should turn blue when it's selected. And then we're going to use something not from the create anymore. We're going to be modifying. You're going to click up here at the top, click modify, and you're going to get a drop down menu. Again, zoom is in the way. It's always in the way. I needed a second monitor. And we're going to do something called an offset. So when I select offset, again, you're going to see something appear off in the side on the right-hand side. If zoom is in the way, that might be happening to you. If you don't see it, maybe check under your zoom box. And we're going to see that it's created another line, which is this red line that I can drag and drop. And you're going to see offset position changes when you drag the line. So currently it is 1 millimeter. I'm actually going to set that to be 1.9414 millimeters, but I'm going to set it to be 1 millimeter. And you could drag it. You could just do it by dragging, or you could type it in here, or you could type it in your offset position. And then you're going to hit OK. And you've created a solid line, not a construction line, because
I think you've got a question.
Oh, we got a question in the chat. Hold on a second.
Anna, I think somebody unmuted themselves. Did you have a question?
I'm not sure. Might have been.
No, I think you just unmuted herself by accident. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you. If you do have a question, just speak up and I'll be able to answer it for you. No problem. So now, one thing to note for you guys is that we do want this to not be a construction line. So double check that it is a solid line and not a dash line. We definitely want that to be a construction line, okay? If it is, no worries. You just click on construction again and it turns out. You can go back and forth between the two lines as you so see fit. So right now, though, we're going to want it to be a solid line. And then we're going to repeat that process. Part of learning is repeating the process. So it's important to me that we do that. And we need a line on the other side now. So again, we're going to go up to modify. We're going to click on offset. And we can drag it to this side and we can lock it in. But it's getting kind of annoying if I drag it because it doesn't lock to the negative 1 millimeter. It's important to note that this one is negative 1 millimeter because it's in the opposite direction of the last one that we made. So if you go over here, you can type in -1, and we're going to have our lines nicely measured out for us here. And we're going to have something else that we can select. So you should be able to, and you might need to zoom in a little bit so that you're not clicking on one of the lines, but you should be able to just select a rectangle now within the center of your object. Let me know again if you're having any issues, have any questions as we go along. And for that one, we are done this version of the sketch. So we can basically go here and we are out of our sketch mode. And we're going to want to select that section in the middle. And what did we do last time when we wanted to create a body? We clicked on extrude, or we right clicked and then hit press and pull. We're going to do the same thing, but this time we're going to remove material as opposed to add material. So we're going to go press and pull. For this, it might help if we're seeing a different perspective instead of straight on, so that we can tell if the object is rotating or is being pushed in. So I'm going to recommend a few ways you can do that. You can hit the orbit down here and you can just turn it. You can hit home if you want to, and it will probably allow you to do that. Or you can just grab the cube and move it as you see fit. Right now, I'm going to exit out of orbit. press escape, and I can drag it as well. So I can just push down by 0.5 or go by 1. And again, if you don't like that, you can also type it in. And once you have it at where you are, I'm choosing to do 1, but this is your domino, so you can do whatever you want. If you go too far, you will go through the object and you will bisect your rectangle. So maybe don't do that, but you can if you'd like to. It just might not work if you're going to 3D print it, for example. So then we hit OK, and we now have that secondary feature, the defining feature of the center line being created. So again, a reminder that now we're zoomed in and we're looking just at that, but maybe we want to check out our whole domino, or almost domino, let's call it. You can just click on that and you'll see the full perspective. If you want to look at it straight on again, you can click on front, and we're back here. We now can tell that we have our center line that is being pushed in. We have now 2 sections that can be highlighted. I'm just going to give a quick second if anyone has a question, if anyone would like to say anything or has any questions, again, please let me know. We are now nearly there. The bottom, that's full domino, but the top, there was one other feature that we were going to make, which is this cutout in a spherical, or it's a half sphere cutout. So we did a rectangular cut into our object. Now we're going to do a circular cut into our object. In order to do that, we don't know where exactly the center of this area is. So we need to find out where the center is. I did say before that when you're drawing on a line, you can find the center of it usually by locking on when you're in a sketch, of course. But we don't have any of those things there yet, and it doesn't quite do it when we're in the middle. So for the third time, we're going to create a new sketch. So I'm going to hit up here again to create new sketch, the green plus, and then I'm going to select where I want my sketch to be on, and we're going to go with the top of the domino. Technically, you could do it on the bottom if you so choose as well. So now we have our new sketch being drawn in the top, and like I said, we can find the center of our line and start drawing, but we're going to want to draw a line first so that we can find the exact middle of this square. It's not quite a square, I apologize, a little bit off. So I've clicked on the line segment up here, and remember that this is used as a measurement, so it's going to be a construction line only. So I'm going to click on construction in my side menu over here. And then once I have that going, I'm going to go and find the corner. You can choose any corner, frankly, that you would like to. And when you're locked into the corner, you're going to see that square blue box happening. I'm going to click down, and then I can drag a line out. And I want to go to the opposing corner of whatever corner you selected and click there. So now I have my construction line. And if you'll recall that I can draw things and it will find the center. So now we wanted to draw a circle because, again, as we said earlier, every 3-dimensional object typically starts as a 2-dimensional object. So we're actually going to be drawing a circle right in the center of our line. So as you choose this circular tool, the center diameter circle over here, once you have that selected, go to your line and follow along in the center until it magically tells you where the middle is. And at that point, you're going to want to click, and you'll notice a routine here. We click, and then we click again when we want to set a measurement. And for now, I'm just going to set it at a random size. Doesn't quite matter. We're going to go back to the dimension tool again, because this isn't the size that I want it to be. I actually want it to be 5 millimeters. You can do any size that you want to. If you do it too large, though, consider that it may go through the back eventually, and you'll see what I mean if you make it too large. If you do make it too large, though, we have Control-Z, and we have ways of editing things so we can go back. Experimentation is your friend. Have fun with it. You do you, I'll do me, and hopefully we'll learn as we go along, okay? So right now, I can go back to the dimension tool up here in the corner. It's under the word sheet metal for me right here, just to remind you. And then I can click over here. I can click on the tool, sorry. And I can drag, oh, sorry. My apologies, guys. Why isn't it working for me? There we go. For some reason, it wasn't quite working there. So here we have our dimension. We can click it, And then now we can change it. So I have 7.65631. I don't want that. I want 5 millimeters. I like that. 5 is my favorite number, so that's why we're doing that. There's literally no other reason really other than I think it kind of looks like a domino and it's my favorite. And here it is. So we now have this circle, but I've made a mistake. If anyone wants to point out that mistake, that's great. But I'm just gonna say that I forgot to deselect the line type of construction. So I actually want this circle to be, and I apologize if you guys followed along and missed that, and turn it into our actual physical solid line, object line. So there we go. So we have a circle here. We have our diagonal construction line. It's right in the center. We're just nearly about to make a cutout here. But what I would like to do first is bisect this circle because we're going to use that to make our revolve cut, and we'll get into that later. So you're going to go back and you're going to select the line tool. You're going to want that one to be a solid line. So you're going to go over here and not do like I did and not convert it. And you're going to find where the intersection of your construction line and your circle are on the circumference. And you're just going to drag again and pull across and click again. And now you'll see, hopefully you all have it. You have now a circle with a bisecting line, and you should be able to then click on just 1/2 of the circle. That's quite important at this moment. So make sure you're along there with us. Unsure about the construction lines and getting the sketch. Do you want to, so I can go again. So if you're in construction lines, every time you're in a sketch, you can basically go and change your line types. I think is it Wilfred that's asking the question, Stephen?
Yeah, it's Wilfred. Wilfred, you could unmute yourself if you want to.
Yeah, let us know. We can chat for a second.
Hello.
And hey, Wilfred.
Hey.
So
Yeah.
what's going on?
So I have the circle, but I made a normal line, not a construction line, to make it.
Yeah.
Then got rid of the line to catch up, and now I don't have the line, and I couldn't get that dimension tool to work to change the radius.
Okay, yeah, I don't know why it wasn't working for me either, so I don't know. Something's going on anyway. They just did a patch update, so I don't think it's that, but it might be. Would you mind sharing your screen instead of me, and we can go over it real quick with you?
I totally can, yeah.
Okay, awesome. So if you request to share, I can down at the bottom in Zoom. I can't exactly show you guys how to do it, but then you should pop up and share your screen. There's a little green box with an up arrow. Yeah, there you are. All right.
Okay, so this is where I'm at. While I'm sharing my screen, I'll also just point out that I messed up the alignment on the extrudes there.
No worries, no worries. It actually only has to be on one side, so we can fix that part after. But let's go to the
okay.
that
I'm ahead actually. Okay.
Yeah, we're only doing one side of our domino today, but here, bring us back that. You can go hit home, perfect. You want to zoom in a little bit. So if you want to redraw your diagonal line, you don't have to though, but it will help you to get that secondary line. So
yeah, let's go ahead and do that because it was a little confusing for me.
So go into your line, yeah, perfect. And then just again choose the corner, any corner, doesn't matter, and then draw it across, perfect. And you still have a construction line, that's excellent. So then you're going to want to draw another line. And that one just acted to give you the reference point of the bisection of the circle. So you're going to want to basically go over to your line type on the right hand side at this moment, and you're going to see at the very top so click on that one. Yep, click on it, and now you're going to be drawing a non-construction line.
There we go. Okay.
You're going to go to where your construction line and your circumference of your circle meet. So no, actually just on the outer portion of the circle and right where the construction line is, and drag it across following the construction line. Yeah, and then you'll see there you have perfectly done that. That is excellent. And now if you press escape, you should be able to then select the half by clicking in the middle of this body. You should be able to just, yeah, there we go. So you're caught up. You're ready to go.
Great.
All right, perfect.
Wilfred, for the line on the bottom, one of the best features of Fusion 360 that Matt will show you after is that you can go back and undo different stages without breaking the whole thing. So we can
That's
fix
great.
that. If you remind us, we can show you how to fix that at the end.
Sure.
No problem. So yeah, hopefully you're good and caught up now. I'm going to go share my screen again. And hopefully if anyone else was having the same problem, that usually helps by looking at and redoing things and taking a review of stuff. So I'm going to go back and share my screen here. So here we are back at our circle. And this becomes the moment of truth when we're actually going to make that half sphere cutout. It's called a revolve typically. So right now we are done sketching. We can again go up here, as George reminded us, up here, finish sketch, the green circle with the white check mark in the middle. And now our menu at the top has changed. That's important to note. You are going to want to do a revolve. So up here at the top, we're going to be going revolve. And again, there's going to be a window that pops up on the right-hand side. And there's going to be a few different options of things to select here. It actually kind of walks you through the process of doing it. So for a profile, I need to select my profile. And the profile is that sketch that we created. And that's why it was so important to have a half circle, because then we can select that and it says, boom, it's blue now. It says we've selected it. That's perfect. We have one and we're ready to go. For axis, when you click on axis down one further, you're going to choose the axis that the half circle is going to spin around. So that's that center line right here. And as you clicked on that, everything else should have been good. And you should see that it says it did a 360 spin. If you don't see that happening and you see something perhaps like this, that means you've actually added geometry. So you're going to have it protrude a little bit, which looks kind of cool, but I've never seen a domino that looked like that. So I don't know, maybe we're going to invent a new domino here, but for this purpose, I'm going to want to click on the front, get it back. We're going to see that it's actually a cut that we're wanting to do. The one side and the 360 degree, if I were to change that, for example, and go 250, it doesn't cut all the way through. It stopped at a certain point. So that was only 25, so that's not showing that, sorry. 250. It didn't quite make it all the way around. We do 360, it's going to cut all the way around for us, which is awesome. So now if I can rotate around, you're actually going to see that that red is marking my cut, and it's previewing it for us in your cut. And you can see that it goes all the way into the domino. You can see sort of through. They've managed to make it a little bit semi-transparent or an overlay, so you can tell what's going on. And now that's all you need to do for that cut. You're ready to go. So we hit OK. And I want to go home again. And now we have our domino with, basically this is a complete domino. Now we're just getting into finessing. You've pretty much made it the way you're ready to go. Is it a single side? I'm going to acknowledge, Wilfred, that you were being overzealous, maybe not overzealous, but you're going, I'm going to make two-sided domino. Right now we're only making a one-sided domino, but that's a good thing. You should fix up your other center line and add some other dots on the other side, because that's going to be good to exercise your skills. All right, so let's take a look here and compare this domino that we have, which is looking all right, but it's a little boxy. It could use some finesse. And then take a look over at this domino over here. It looks a little bit more finished. There's something really important when you're making objects, especially if this is going to be out of metal or wood. You never want to have something that's called the iris, which is where two lines meet. Is this intersection right here, and right here. On the actual object, if you were to create it, it would probably be sharp after being machined. So usually you want to avoid having complete 90-degree edges that are going to be sharp for the handler. We don't want people slicing themselves up. Dominoes is typically not a dangerous game, let's put it that way. So we're going to be playing it the safe way. And what we're going to do to make sure that these are safe dominoes for everyone, and stylish, I might add, is that we're going to do something called two things, actually. One is going to be a fillet, and one is going to be a chamfer. So we're going to start with fillets, and we're going to add those to the four corners. So again, if you go up to modify up here, which is the first time I think we're entering that menu, and then you go fillet, or you can hit F. I remember I said that sometimes the hotkeys will be down on the side. You can hit F right there, and you are now selecting that tool. Then when you hover over some of your lines, you're going to see that they sort of get boldened and in black. You're going to want to click on one and select it. And now you'll see this push-pull arrow. I won't recommend that you push or pull it just yet, because there's something that you could, but then you'd have to do it to all four individually. That's just a little bit less time. Once you start designing things that get more complicated, you're going to want to be able to do anything in your power to make it a little bit faster and combine operations. So for that, we're going to hold Shift on the keyboard, just like you would in Windows for selecting multiple items, and you're going to click on each one. And you will notice that even though I can't see this line, when I hover over, it becomes bolded and I can start to see it. And you can still click on it and they turn blue. So once it's blue, you know you have it. You're not, if you haven't been holding Shift, they're not all going to be blue. And we're going to do the last one over here. And now you should have all of the corners selected. And then in our menu over here, you're going to be able to just tell what size of fillet basically you want to move. So I'm going to show you guys what that looks like. So I'm going to go really big and see what happens. So if I go 5 millimeters, we get like a really rounded domino. I don't want to go quite that far, so I'm going to go with 2 millimeters and just change that. So I get a 2 millimeter round over, and when I hit enter, that menu disappears. So now look at that domino is getting pretty, looks pretty good. We're almost there, but there's one more thing we got to edit, which is these other corners. So these corners are no longer sharp. Where you actually handle it, those might be a little sharp still. So for that, we're going to do, and you could do a fillet as well on both of them, but I'm just trying to show you both of these options. So we're going to go to chamfer up here. And once we have our chamfer selection, you're going to want to double check that this lovely check mark, one of my favorite check boxes called tangent chain, is checked. I'm going to show you what happens when you don't have tangent chain chosen, which is that as you go to select things, again, you're selecting them really individually, and it doesn't get the corner. So imagine if I was going around this whole thing, I'd have to hold Shift and I'd go select, 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 and they'd all get selected. But if I click tangent chain, this magic things happens where the computer already knows, the software already knows that I want to do the entire chain of lines. So then I can click on that, and now that will be all selected blue. And you're still going to want to hold Shift because we have created this bisection, we want to select the bottom as well. And be careful that you're not selecting the face. You really want to make sure you're selecting the lines. It can happen if you aren't quite getting it, you can zoom in a little bit and it'll help you. And then the whole back, because there's no bisection, but Wilfred, you do have one, so you're going to have to do this twice, is select right there. So now they're all blue. We have the same push-pull. And what's nice about the push-pull is that it kind of allows you to just test. So I could make a really Star Trek-y domino if I wanted to, do like this. But just to get to ourselves to a point, like, so, you know, you can say, oh, I like that, I don't like that. If you go too far, it's just saying like, it's not possible. You can't do a 13 millimeter. This is only 5 millimeters thick. You don't know what you're talking about, human. I'm a computer and I don't do what, you know, I don't do the impossible. So here, I'm going to choose 1 millimeter because I think that's reasonable. And when I hit enter, I now have basically my completed domino. I'm pretty happy with that. Pretty excited to have a domino. I could 3D print this right now and be pretty beautiful. And I honestly, I do want to recommend and let you guys know, and I'll get into that in a little bit. Let me know if you do not have a completed domino, or if you would like me to go over any of the things we've already covered. There's a couple final pieces I want to, you know, get, but this is it. We're here. The other domino had a little bit more of, it had double fillets, so it looks a little different. But this one, we do something differently. We're trying it a little different. So if you like that and you're happy with your domino, stick with it. We're right here. But say you wanted to edit something and you wanted to go and change something that had happened previously, you can do that and you can go back in time. So literally, this software allows us to time travel back to when we had no domino or no sketch whatsoever. Down here in the corner, you'll notice that I can go through each step. So I had a sketch, then I drew a solid body. After that, I drew another sketch, doesn't show anything, but you're there. Then we drew that line. We did another sketch. and we did our cutout, and then we did the fillets, and then we did our chamfer. So what's nice about that is if you decided that somewhere along the line you went astray and you didn't like what you did for the past 5 operations, you can go back and you can delete those ones. You can start from where you were before. It's kind of like when you're on your PC and you do entire backups, and you can just say, I want to time travel back to yesterday because my computer was working perfect yesterday. You can do that here, and it works pretty seamlessly. The one thing that you can do as well is that each one of these sketches you can open up again. So say, for example, I wanted to change my actual circle here. I wanted to change the size of it. I can go back and I can right click and I can go to edit sketch in this menu. So forgive all these other things, you can go to edit sketch and you're right back here with your dimension, and you can edit your dimension, and I can say I want it to actually be 10. Let's try that. Boom, I've made it bigger. It shows up here. Now let's see what happens when we finish our sketch and we move back in our timeline. Now, wonderfully, I have this giant cutout in for my 1 as the domino. So consider that that's really powerful if you start to make designs and you want to edit them, because usually the first time you design something, you're going to want to do some more with it. You're going to take different steps. You're going to want to try different things, and you don't have to do it all over again. You just go back into this magical, lovely software that lets you edit things on the fly. So here we are. We can edit all kinds of different things. I think there might be something in the chat that I saw. Yeah, there we go. You can right click, Wilfred, you're finding things. That I like that. You're finding things in the menu. Please explore. You know, you're not going to break anything beyond recognition. This is the lovely part about digital design, is that we always have these undo buttons. We can click on things, we can redo things. You know, to a certain extent, sometimes we do go too far, and it's okay if we have to redo things every once in a while. So yeah, you can go away and just delete a specific step if you don't want to. Thank you for pointing that out, Wilfred. So here I am with my domino. I'm going to leave it here because I just think it's ludicrous that I have this giant semicircle cutout and we're good to go. I'm going to take a little pass through, and you know what? There's a pretty cool feature down here that lets me see all the sides of beautiful angles of my object. So if I go down here and I go to multiple views, you can then see your object from a whole bunch of different angles and make sure that you love it. This is better than reality. I can't see things from more than one perspective in reality. So I love this, that I can see all the perspectives all at once. And it really lets me sort of make decisions about my design, and hopefully it will let you guys make better designs or different designs in the future. If there's anything that you have any questions about that we've covered along the way, please do let me know. But for now, this is our entire workshop. Hopefully you guys have created the lovely dominoes for yourselves. And here is a gift from me and the Makerspace to you guys, which is that what we do like to do with a lot of our designs. I think I see a question in the chat here.
No, I'm just being too efficient.
Thank you. So I'm actually going to share my screen with you guys. Thank you, Stephen. What we do like to do is help people design things. We want you to learn new skills, but we want you to exercise them in your own way. Right now, you followed along, but we want you to create. We want you to make your own things. But starting to get inspired to do that can be, you know, can be a little daunting. It can be lonely sometimes. You know, you can find challenges and get stuck. And us in the Makerspace, so this whole team who work in the Makerspace in the Office of Applied Research, we are there to help you. Even though no one can come into our space right now, we actually have remote services. So if you are looking to design something new and you don't know where to start, or you're like, oh, I didn't learn this feature in Fusion 360, you can actually book a free consultation with us anytime. It's always free, it never costs money. And you can book a one-on-one session with the group. So you can either get myself or Davis or Steven or whatever, and it doesn't have to be 3D design. It can literally be, I have an idea and I'm looking how to step forward. It can be, oh, I really want to 3D print something and I found it on Thingiverse and I'd like to print it. Any of those things, it really doesn't matter. It can be something else, which is super important to note, that it doesn't have to be on this list of things. Sometimes you're trying to do something entirely new. You don't know how to define it, and we didn't want that to be a roadblock to getting in touch with us. So click something else. You're going to want to put your name, that's important, your email address, and a small description of what you want to do. But the gift that I was talking about earlier, and sorry, I forgot to get right on track with that, was that if you have made a domino today in your digital design and you would like to have it 3D printed, we can absolutely 3D print your first object because you're only half of the way there with designing it. The moment that you pick up your domino and you hold it in your hands and you can look at it and feel it and touch it and verify it's not dangerous to the group, or deadly dominoes, I think as Wilfred put it, which is awesome. Good band name, I think. And
Deadly Domino sounds like a copyright-free version of Gambit from X-Men.
There we go, Stephen. So you can just put in a request here, drop us your domino file, and if you didn't finish your domino and you want to, we can help you do that too. So we're there to help in all ways, shapes, or forms. We really just want to talk to people and get into and help them with their new projects, their old projects, whatever they're working on. If you have something in your head you want to get out, let's help. Let us help. Sorry. So you would just drop the file. It must be a zipped file. If that's causing you issue, don't even worry about it. Just say, I have a domino I would like to print. You type it up in here, you hit submit. That goes to my inbox, Stephen's inbox, Davis's inbox. And one of us will reply to you. Most likely, I think it would be Davis. And he'll say, hey, you have a domino you want to print? Or hey, let's make a Zoom call, just like we're having now, but one-on-one. Or, if you're inviting a friend, sure, that's fine too. We work with teams. And then we can help you and we can print that domino. It won't cost anything, but you would have to come pick it up at the college if you would like to have it. So we can basically set up a contactless pickup if you want to. It won't happen super fast. It might take like a week, depending on when you put in your call, but we're happy to help you and give you a free 3D print object for coming to our workshop and following along. So at that moment, we are 4 minutes away from my cutoff. And I just want to make sure that there are no lingering questions. I want to make sure that people are just comfortable with where they're at, and hopefully everyone was able to make a domino. And whether or not they enjoyed the workshop or not, you can leave a comment in the chat to let me know. I also accept feedback. So again, this is literally my first time teaching the workshop, and I'm not an expert, so I'm glad you guys were patient enough with me to show you some of the things that I have learned over the past couple of months in Fusion 360.
So we have a question about upcoming workshops. We are coming to the end of the winter workshop series. However, there will be a whole bunch more launching in the summer. So in May, there'll be a whole bunch more coming up. There are videos on the YouTube channel that you'll get a link to through the email address you signed up for on Eventbrite, where we put recaps of previous workshops. We're going to start a whole bunch of new ones coming up in May.
Yeah, so we cycle through every semester because we are working on the college sort of time frame. And so Stephen runs some amazing Arduino physical computing workshops, but we do them again all online, and you don't need to have an Arduino kit. That's awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you for for saying it was great and helpful. They're a tool to move one of my extrudes up and down my domino. That might be a Davis question. I actually don't know. Davis, you there?
I'm here. What was the question?
So there's a question. I don't know if there is. For me, I don't think there is, but you might know better. Is there a tool to move one of your extrudes up or down?
There is the push-pull or the press and pull.
But I think what he means is like on the face of the domino, they want to move it upwards towards the top of the domino or lower. I think, is it Wilfred asking that question?
Okay, Wilfred is asking that question.
Because on the back of his domino, he had the second line that was a little lower. They weren't meeting up. So I think he wants to move it up.
If you want to share a screen, I can show you how it's done.
Nice.
In regards to that.
Wilfred, if you want to hang out, everyone else, you can hang out and still, but you are free to go as well. We've made it there, but we're gonna tackle this problem right now because that's what we like to do.
Yep. Yeah, so for actually that one, you can use the press and pull.
Oh, you're right, Davis. Yeah, just in a different axis. What am I thinking? Of course. All right, that's why we have teams. So either do you want to step Wilfred through it, or would you like to, you can control screen as well and sort of show him. It's up to you.
It's a little bit faster to control screen, so I'll request for control.
So Wilfred, Davis is going to ask to get control of your computer. He's just going to show you how to do this real quick. Daves, you have control now?
Yep.
Yeah. So
I'm going to use the press pull. I'm going to select the surface I want to press. Pull. I did not use that tool yet. There we go.
So instead of moving the whole bar, you're just moving both sides individually, I guess?
Yep.
Until they match.
And I can just move that. And because I did that, or the way I did it,
Mm-hmm.
It pulled the bottom up too.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
very
magic
cool.
of Davis. This is
Yeah.
the magic of Davis, everyone. If you come to the makerspace, you will witness the magic of Davis. He's a fantastic and talented human being. So thank you, Davis. I really appreciate that. And that was a cool trick that I didn't know before. So awesome. Thanks so
Yes,
much.
thank you.
Wilfred, are you good now? Are you gonna do the other side? What do you think?
Maybe, I don't know. I kind of want to make a Swiss cheese or something.
Yeah,
I
do
got
it.
a little inspired with it.
I like that. Check this. They actually do have these pretty sweet 3D printed Swiss cheese doorstops. It's a pretty useful one. So if you
That's a
make
good
basically
idea.
a section cutout and you can do your little cutouts with your circles and make a Swiss cheese doorstop, you make something, you send it us our way, we'll print it for you, no problem.
I will
Well-
do.
Real funny. If you want a real challenge, make dice.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay. Thanks,
Make
guys.
your Swiss cheese. I want to see that.
Yeah.
I want to see some Swiss cheese slices. I'll 3D print those. Don't eat them. But
Okay.
We'll 3D print them. Okay.
Alright. Might be a little bit, but I'll be sure to send it to you guys.
Yeah, sure.
All right. No, take your time, man. Take your time. We're in no rush here. We're literally here all year. So let us know when you got something. And it's been a pleasure, everybody. So at that point, we're a minute over time. I really enjoyed walking you guys through, and I hope you enjoyed listening. So have a great rest of your afternoon.